Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lose Your Mind podcast with Alan and
Hey,
Kelly. How are you?
I'm not so bad today, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Thank you. Yeah, things are good. Looking forward to this chat, which we're
Me
going to have
too.
today. And we're going to talk today about another of the attitudes of mindfulness. If you've been following us, you'll know that we've been going through the general attitudes of mindfulness, which were propounded by Jon Kabat-Zinn. And we're going to talk today about the beginner's mind. The beginner's mind is a very important concept and one where people actually tend to start out with mindfulness. So, Kelly, maybe just give us your view on what that is and what that means.
I will. Well, firstly, I was just going to share with you something from Jon Kabat-Zinn, which is too often we let our thinking and our beliefs about what we know prevent us from seeing things as they really are. Having fresh eyes means we see things openly and without expectations. And when thinking about this, I think it's so true that we do need to be receptive to new possibilities because no moment is the same as any other. And we don't know what each day is going to face. So I think by looking at things with fresh eyes, with a beginner's mind, it does give you a wider perspective to be able to live a bit more freely and really just take in things as they are without too much expectation. What about you, Alan? What's your view?
Yeah, exactly that. I was also just going to say I like to think of this as almost like an analogy with having a camera, and when you have a good old-fashioned camera, not like on our phones, but the ones we used to take actual pictures with, and you put different filters on. So you can put like a Polaroid filter on, or you can put a filter on that makes something look orangey or green or whatever it is. And I think it's almost like looking at the world without the filters that we have on. So, and our filters are that we go into most moments like we know exactly what's going to happen, don't we? We've been there before, we know what to expect. And very often that can be good because that can give us a chance to get into a moment and be ready for it. But in some ways, most ways it's not good because we lose the ability to be able to, as you said in your little intro, see things as they really are, and and see things fresh. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's so important. And recently, I'll just share a little bit with you that my mum actually went through quite a difficult time herself. And when I was young, we would routinely deal with things in a certain way. And having this resurfaced and us having to face this again, I did completely look at it with a beginner's mind. And by doing so, my eyes were wider open. I was able to help and support my family much more. And it just gave me a whole new perspective rather than just being caught in those patterns that we so often fall into, don't we? We fall into the same habits and the things that we think we should and shouldn't be doing. And life becomes a bit of a routine. But it is so important to be able to be open to new things and just have that beginner's mind because it gives you the opportunity to grow, I guess, as well.
Yeah, that's right. So thanks for sharing that. I guess so. What we're saying here is, we get into habitual thought patterns, don't we? Because as we get used to things, we just think things are going to be a certain way. So the brain tends to say, right, okay, I don't need to think about this at all. I don't need to create anything new. This is the same old, same old. And what you're saying is that you were able to just step back away from that and see a situation in a new way, which meant you saw it in a healthier way. Is that a fair way of saying that?
Yeah, definitely. It was far healthier. I was able to process it, let go of sort of past patterns really, and be much more of help to my mum. And in which case she actually came through the difficult situation she was facing, I would say far easier, with us all looking at it in a new way, because if we get stuck in thinking things are going to be as they once were, or as something we've seen or done before, we are going to get caught on that loop, and it just eats you up, because we follow thought patterns, don't we? And we're sort of quite habitual creatures, so it's too easy to go along with what we know for the safer route, where you can look at things with a beginner's mind and realize that no moment is like another you've had, and it can be a new day.
Yeah, that's true. Because really every day is new, isn't it? And if we want it to be, but I suppose it can be the same old day over and over again if we just let those thought patterns just take us over. So yeah, that's a really good point. So I suppose we've explained to people what we think beginner's mind is. So to just build on your experience though, what was it, without having to go into too much detail that you don't want to share, what was it that enabled you to achieve that mental state?
Well, as you know, we both practice mindfulness regularly, meditation. We both teach it sort of separately within our own practices. But I think being more mindful and slowing down, it was the mindfulness and the meditation that helped me. I had a really difficult night with my mum over Christmas with her mental health. She was
Mhm.
really struggling, and rather than being consumed about how ill she was or what could go wrong, I was really able to stop, give myself a bit of a talking to, like have a bit of a breather, really be there to support my dad, look at things a bit more logically. And we were able to face the situation so much better by just slowing down and being present. I did focus on my breathing at points. I meditated, I would say, probably more over Christmas than I have done in a long, long time. And yeah, it was a tough time, but this, even seeing the love and support we had as a family, like with new eyes, being able to actually see that rather than getting caught up in the problem that we had, in the confusion and the sadness that was in front of us, by having a beginner's mind and being very mindful about it, I could see how much my dad loved my mum, you know, how much as a family we are still all there together. And just the whole thing was actually in some ways quite beautiful, I would say, because I was able to look at it with a fresh outlook compared to what I'd been routinely doing for, I would say, over half my life, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, the mindfulness really helped that.
Good. So, and as you said, you, rather than get caught up in the problem, the situation itself hasn't changed, has it? You've just approached it. You're looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the key thing, which we always talk about in meditation. Do you think then? So you talk quite a bit about doing quite a lot of meditation over that period. Um, is it that gives you that ability to be able to step back from a moment? Do you know what I mean? To step into a moment with the fresh eyes, because I'll just sort of qualify the question. And I get asked a lot as well, is it's all very well to be able to sit down and meditate when you got 10 minutes or whatever and everything's nice and quiet and you feel good. But, you know, when life takes you over and you've got to, you know, you're in the middle of a battle, how do you get yourself to step back in that sense?
Well, I do think it all comes with practice. I mean, everything is practice, isn't it? And I've said this before on here. I know when we've had a discussion previously, but it really did hit home that with meditating, it's not what it gives you, it's what it takes away. And that's exactly what it did for me at this period of time. I was really struggling and I did feel quite sad, but rather than be consumed with the sadness, I was able to sit there, and however many times I got distracted, I did look at it with a beginner's mind. I thought, well, no, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to try again. And I'm just going to sit here. And over time, the more you practice and the more time you allow yourself, you naturally, whatever the meditation looks like for you, whether it's full of thoughts and you're just acknowledging the way you feel or whatever's coming up, you do manage to gradually take little bits away where you can think clearer, and act better and live freer.
Yeah. So it's probably the practice. I don't know whether I'm kind of leading the witness here, but it's almost like the practice that you've gained has just given you that mental training to be able to do that when it matters. That's the
I
way I see it. I don't know whether I don't want to, put words in your mouth, Kelly.
No, I would agree with you. Sorry, I am a bit of a rambler, but
No,
yes,
no,
I
no.
would agree. I would agree with what you're saying there. But with this kind of thing, some people find it really difficult. For example, with my mum, with her mental illness, I did try and do mindfulness and meditation with her. And for some people, it's not as easy as thinking, I'll just sit down. If you're anxious or your mind's running away or you're confused and you don't know where you are not going to be able to quite simply sit there. But there are so many other things you can do that are mindful. So we were drawing, give someone a pen, they can write down how they're feeling. You could go out for a walk and feel the different temperature and nature and everything around you. You can do exercise or yoga. There are so many different things you can do mindfully to adopt the attitude of a beginner's mind. You can go out for a walk. I mean, you would have done this before, teaching mindfulness yourself, but walk in the same village that you've walked 100 times, but look at it with fresh eyes, and what will you see?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. And I think so. Yeah, not only can you approach difficult situations better, you can just enjoy life more by seeing more and you notice more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to do that today. I've been out this morning in the car, and I was driving back from wherever I was going, and it's a route that I've taken many times, but I just, without taking my eyes off the road too much, just tried to look around a little bit and notice what was there, and just for the sake of noticing it rather than having any kind of judgment. But I've taken in more detail about the landscape. So I was driving past a farmhouse, and it had like a kind of rickety old barn, and then there was a little battered shed, at the bottom of their garden, and just details that I would never have noticed. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying I've taken that detail in that I wouldn't have been
Yeah.
able to if I just thought, oh well, this is the same old road, put the radio on because I'm bored and I need to be entertained. So I just took it all in, and that for me was, having a beginner's mind. It's like I've never driven down this road before. What do I see?
Yeah, I would agree. I think just leaving our expectations at the door and taking things with those new eyes, it gives us a gift, really, doesn't it? A gift of just so much if we're open to it. I mean, children and babies, when they're born, they're naturally looking at things with fresh eyes, aren't they, with that beginner's mind all the time. And then
Yeah,
the more life goes on and the layers are built up on top of us, and we hear things in the news and you've got influences and people around you, you lose that, sadly.
yeah,
And the mindfulness and meditation, they help us strip all that back. So like you said, in the car, you can enjoy your journey. I was able to help my mum much better. And we just get so much more out of each day.
I think you're absolutely right. So I mean, I think we've made the point. What do you think would be a good tip for someone then to, adopt more of a beginner's mind? Because it sounds easy for us to talk about it and what the benefits might be. What's a good tip to get started here?
Well, for me, it's what I started doing when I struggled, trying to be more mindful, is maybe try and ask yourself 3 times. If you're going to do something and you're stuck in a certain way, maybe just stop and question it again. Like, would it be so bad if I looked at this differently? And then if you still want to steamroller ahead, fine. But I think it's just giving yourself the opportunity, more than just going on that default road we all often take. Just ask yourself a couple of times, would it be so bad if I had an open mind today? Would it be so bad, if I sort of viewed things slightly differently? Would it be so bad if I didn't shout the first thoughts that come into my head? Just
Mm.
really just take a step back, just ask yourself a couple of times, and just allow yourself to see things as though they are new. What about you?
That's really good. So you're giving yourself a little bit of a trigger to remember to do that rather than just
Yeah.
get lost and dive in. Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head for in how you think and how you react to situations. You can also train, I think, a little bit of the that mental muscle by, here's a tip. If you decide to pick a color in the morning and then resolve to notice that color every time you see it in the day, it just helps you start to look at things in a new way. And if you see the color, you notice it, and it does two things. One is, I think you start to notice more, but also it calms you, it gets you out of fight or flight, brings you back into the moment. When we know that our minds just get carried off, even when we don't want them to. So, yeah, that would be my tip.
I love that. I'm going to steal that one, I think,
You
Alan.
should steal it with pride. Yeah, I stole it off somebody else. Nothing is new, is it? Yeah, just noticing a different color. So yeah,
Well,
it's good. So
I like that.
I'm glad you like it. I think that probably brings us to the end of today, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would agree. Hopefully, we've covered and helped people understand a bit more of how it can be beneficial, and look forward to them taking a beginner's mind in future.
Yeah, absolutely. Go out there, use your beginner's mind. It will do you a lot of good. And so we'll be back next time on another episode of the Lose Your Mind podcast.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.